Hello, Grace Community Church. Pastor Steve here, continuing our journey cover to cover through the Bible. And today is June 19, and we're continuing looking at the kings of Israel and Judah. Today we're looking at 2 Kings chapters 12 and 13, and also 2 Chronicles chapter 24. There's a few things that I think are helpful to know relating to these sections of Scripture. In fact, for the entire book of 2 Kings and 2 Chronicles. Whenever you're hearing this phrase, he was like his father or he was not like his father. In the northern kingdom, which is this green on the map here, so this would be the kingdom of Israel. And this section down here is the kingdom of Judah, southern kingdom, northern kingdom. Just for perspective, for when you think of the entire Bible, here is the Sea of Galilee, where Jesus did many of his miracles and teaching. And over here is the Dead Sea. The Jordan River connects these two. And if you remember when Jesus would pass through Samaria, Samaria would be in this vicinity right over here. You see a name written on the map here of Samaria, but that's referring to an actual town. It will eventually become a region. When we're talking about the northern kingdom, here's the phrase that shows up. He followed the sins of his father Jeroboam. Jeroboam was the first king of Israel after the one country split after the time of Solomon. He was evil. So from that point on, he becomes the symbolic name of that which is bad. So even though the people maybe 100 years later, they're still referring to he was like Jeroboam or he wasn't like Jeroboam. The problem is with the northern kingdom, they were all like Jeroboam. Now we're coming to the southern kingdom, does have a number of good kings. And we are introduced to them, and the text says that they were good kings. But they'll say either that he was like his father, and then they'll give a positive king because he had a good father. For example, Asa is generally referred to as a good king. So they'll say he was like his father Asa, or they'll say he was like his father David. And David, of course, is the preeminent king. He is the one who received the promises of God that his kingdom would never end, and that is what is at play when you hear these phrases. Now, here are the primary sins that keep coming up with both the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom. The first one is the worship of Asherah. Now, this is a picture of a recreation of the Asherah god. What you read in the text is people setting up Asherah poles. Now, if you notice on this recreation, there are breasts that are here. Asherah is a fertility goddess. Now, here is the challenge of the land of Israel. It is not like Egypt that the Nile waters the land, and it doesn't matter if it rains. Kind of like Nevada, we rely on the Colorado River. So the fact that it doesn't rain here doesn't bother us very much. But in that land, they need to depend on rainfall. And it is not as desert as we are. It's kind of semi-arid. And it does rain, but seems very rarely. And the people would worship a fertility goddess, saying that just as rain causes things to grow, they viewed the rain as fertility. Worship Asherah and you'll have rain and your crops will grow. Don't worship Asherah, you're going to be in a tight spot. Because of that, the people stopped relying on the Lord, and they thought, we better pay attention to those local deities, one of them being Asherah. Another one that's going to come up, hasn't been mentioned yet, is the worship of this guy, Molech. You will hear this phrase, caused your children to pass through the fire. So Molech is an iron god that is like a furnace. You heat the arms of this iron up, and then you end up with children that they place in the arms of Molech, which are red hot, and your children would die. Now, obviously not all children, but you would offer a child. And why would you do this? Once again, so your crops will grow. You felt you had to sacrifice this child so that you could have sustenance and live. You see the problem here? What problem is you worship Asherah, and you worship Asherah, by the way, through sexuality. Well, when you have temple prostitutes, what do you end up with then? More children, unwanted children. What do you do with the unwanted children? You have them pass through the fire. This is the despicable practices that the Israelites got caught up in that caused God's anger. So this is just helpful to know as we continue to read. Now, because of this, the wars would happen. Here's Aram. They would invade. Ammon would invade. Moab would invade. And you'd hear these things. You see the town of Damascus, that's mentioned in our text. Each of these are described in the passage as God's punishment through enemies of his people. Now, our passage ends with a very fascinating story. So Elisha the prophet dies. Yeah, prophets die. And he's buried. And someone throws a dead body on the bones of Elisha. And the body comes to life again. And you're probably waiting for a profound explanation as to why this is. I don't know. Fascinating. And I would just say it's conveyed in our text the power of the prophet Elisha. And you see the very end, the king saying, my father. He was just held in high respect for his authority and power before the Lord. Hey, great to talk with you. We will see you again tomorrow. God bless you.